Okay, guys, I'm going to go through the kickoff reception and the setup of it and what we do with it. This is obviously based on different levels, so I'll do it based on what, in an ideal world, we would want to do with maybe the under-19s and the men, right? They've got the physical ability to do all of it and hopefully the experience and knowledge to do it, and it could be adapted down in the younger age groups. But I'll sort of go through it and how I want it set up, and we'll kind of go from there on some explanations. So obviously halfway line, 10, 22, try line. Ideal world, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, your front row, and maybe your heaviest, strongest back row forward or second row forward, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. Doesn't have to be exactly that, but based on body composition, generally you want the taller guys at the front in an ideal situation. What is the ideal situation? Wherever the ball lands, whether it's just behind the 7, 8 or just in front of 3, 4, okay? Ideally, we want those guys. If it lands in right behind the 7, your 2 can come forward, your 7 takes a step back, and his guy is there to lift it. 7's getting in the air and catching that ball. Ideal situation. Reason we want them catching the ball is not always obvious, but you've got your guys that are attacking that ball from the kickoff. If they can jump and slap it back, they will nowadays. It's becoming very common. Saw it a couple of times just to get when we played U19's Key Biscayne recently. So what we want to do is get up. If they're getting up and slapping it back, we need to get up above them. Generally, the forwards are not going to be as agile. So we work as a team. Big number 2 lifts the tall, thinner number 7. We're catching that ball over the springy winger or the springy centre from that team, hopefully, right? That's the idea. They can't hit them in the air, so let's just jump over them would be the ideal situation. Hey, mate. So if we're going from there, catching at the 7 position, number 2 is lifting. Similarly with 1 and 8, similar combination with 3 and 6, and similar situation with 4 and 5. Now, lower levels, let's change that concept a little bit. We're not going to get many under 14s, for example, being able to lift in a kickoff. We don't even really do lifts in the lineouts at that point. So, obviously you might want to switch that if your 6, 7, and 8, for example, are going to be generally more mobile forwards. You might want to put them at the back because they can catch the ball and they can carry the ball forward confidently. Okay, and again, also they're able to jump and compete. Generally, guys, we want people moving forward to catch the ball. So if a ball is landing in a space, we don't want, if it lands here, for example, we don't want the 2 running back to catch it. It would be better for the 12 to run forward and catch it. That's a general sort of thought process we need to get into the head of the kids. So another scenario to sort of develop the forward section, I'm just talking about the forwards at this point. We want to play with a 1-3-3-1. So that would be 1 player in this area, 3 in here, 3 in here, and 1 out here when we're attacking. And I'll show you in a few minutes the next stage of how we would be set up after receiving the kick and after taking that first phase or first contact. But basically, say the ball lands in here, your 7 or 2 collects that ball. Say the 7 collects it. We want the other 2 closest that are going to make the most impact hitting that contact. Okay, so 7 catches the ball. They're probably going to move into something like this position, as maybe only a yard or 2 because it's close by. Their attack is going to catch, or the defense is going to get there. So we're going to go 7 coming in here, 2 ideally cleaning through that ruck, and taking anything with them, and number 2 coming in and stabilizing that ruck. All of a sudden, we've got 1, 2, and 7 all in here. Okay, all in here. Then we want to leave, the 8 can take a step back, 3, 6, and 4 can create the next pod in here, and your 5 can step back up here. Okay, that means we've now got 1, 3, 3, 1. Obviously, the backs can flood into their correct positions, and we've got a sprinkling of bigger guys in amongst a back line. That creates a lot of options for us. It's going to create mismatches when we attack on the next phase. Generally, you want to probably use your pod that's available to crash, settle things, and then the scrum half and fly half can look up, see what they're doing defensively to react to these two pods crashing, and then where do we play? Do we play or do we play? Whatever you want to do. But that's the basic setup. I'll take a shot of how it should be set up afterwards, and you can take a brief look at that. I'll edit it onto this piece of the video. So that's the very first piece of it. Okay, I'll try and edit something in here. Next thing that we want to look at is if the ball gets kicked to the centers. Okay, the ball comes in and lands on the center. We generally want to release the strength within the team. The strength within the team in this scenario, is the defensive team are coming up. They are very rarely coming up flat. They are going to come up staggered, something like this. Maybe one here, one here, one here. Yeah, one of them's keen, right? But they're coming up staggered. So if they're defending like that, we don't want this guy to try and challenge that contact. We want to let them draw in the defense and release the fastest guy on the park. 14 or 11. If it goes to 12, it goes to 11. It goes to 13, it goes to 14. So if the ball comes in here to the 13, these guys are keen. They're attacking him. You're attacking him. He releases the ball, and then your 14 has got a channel to run down because you've probably got your wing, your outside centre, your wing, your outside centre, your inside centre attacking that man. Draw, pass, release the fastest guy on the park. Just score from that. Easy, right? So that's forwards. Then what happens when the centres get it? It goes to the wing. Every time. Just make it habitual. Okay? Because when they make it habitual, then they start to expect it. Then maybe they go for the winger, and then the outside or inside centre's got their space. Third scenario. The ball lands inside this box. Inside our 22. We are not playing with the ball inside our 22. Unless we've got players that can sidestep and sort of your punt returner from American football playing for us, which we generally don't have as a club. We're generally going to have a bunch of Argentines that can kick the ball, or an Irish kid, or a South African kid. They're going to be key players in here, right? 9, 10, and 15. In our club, they generally can all kick. So we kick. We kick out. You want to put your right-footed player at 10, or your right-footed player on this side, because if he's this side of the centre, he's going to kick out. Your left, if you've got a left foot kicker, you want to put him this side of the centre so they can kick out, so they can square his hips up correctly and send it in the right direction. Okay? So that's 9. So it's inside the 22, we're kicking out. If it's this side of the 22, we're giving it to the centres are catching it, moving forward, absorbing defenders and passing it outside, and your forwards working threes. 2 groups of 4, which create 1, 3, 3, 1. I'm going to, again, show you a screenshot of how it's set up right now. So this is what it should look like at the end of the first, well, after contact off of the kickoff. So you should have your 1, 2, and 7, or your 1, 8, and 7. Some combination of that group of 4 that were in here should be in that ruck. Basically, we want the ball carrying contact. First man arriving, the closest man arriving, cleaning through and taking as much defense with him as he can, and the second man stabilizing that ruck so the scrum half can arrive quickly and make decisions and go again. For that phase number 1, I guess, officially, is your first pod, 6, 3, and 5. Your 8 man, you can slot in behind 9. You've got your 11, your winger just comes forward. Obviously, your 9 is going to come in here. Your 10 is going to come in and sit behind this pod. This pod's created from 3 of the 4. 6, 3, and 5 can come together. 4 over to the top. I don't care which one it is. It shouldn't be very rigid, because you never know where the ball's going to land. Who's going to be in that group of 3, or yeah, when you do 1, 3, 3, 1. But as you can see it here, 1, 3, 3, 1. Okay, is what you want. Now that's obviously adaptable. So this 3 go over here, it goes backwards and forwards a little bit. But 1, 3, 3, 1 is the concept. Then obviously you've got your inside centre is going to be starting here, can come outside the 10. 13 pretty much stays still. 15 drifts into that slot behind maybe number 4. Now you've got a number 4 that's running basically at their outside centre or winger. That's what we're looking for. Obviously at that point you've got a bigger guy running at smaller guys. Hopefully he would pull in 2 or 3 players to try and defend him, and then you're offloading to our winger or our fullback inside and outside. Your 15 can play outside or inside of him. So this pod, at this stage, this pod is going to be making contact if it's on. If they're nice and compressed, they're very compressed defensively. Okay, we want to use these as a fake, because that's a big group of guys coming, so we're going to have to defend that. If they compress, then we use the back. If they spread nice and even, we use the pod, and we gain yards. Okay, that's the ideal situation. And then from there, you've got this pod is crashing, and then obviously your 9 can continue to play with the 10, 12, 13, 15, and 4 and 14. So at that stage, this phase has taken a couple of guys out of the game. This phase has taken hopefully more players out of the game. We recycle quickly. Again, 3 crash ball as a ball carrier, 6 and 5 cleaning through quickly. If you want to play 1 man cleaning through, taking the traffic, 1 man stabilizing, and again, I'll talk about that in more detail later, but basically that 1 man stabilizing means there's less feet at the bottom of the ruck, and it makes it easier for the scrum half to get the ball, dig the ball out. If there's 2, 3, 4 people sat on top of that ruck, that's more traffic for the scrum half to find the ball, and a slower play the ball. If we play the ball quickly here, you've absorbed the phase, they've absorbed a phase, they've absorbed another phase, and then we can play quickly with 10, 12, 13, a second row forward, your fullback and your winger, and you've still got these 2 guys that have not been used. So I'll show the next one right now. So now you've got this scenario where 1, 2, and 7 are obviously involved in that ruck, and they're probably just getting up off the floor, because we're going to play this phase very, very quickly. So the ball carrier went in, number 5, 3 blew through it, took everything with them, 6 stabilized very quickly. Now there's not much foot traffic for the scrum half to be involved with, so the scrum half's got all kinds of options now. He's got an 8 man coming at speed, supported by an 11, a winger. You've got the 10, the 12, the 13, the 4, okay, the second row forward that's still out there, the 1 on the far side, 15 in support of him, and your 14 running the 5 channel. That's created a lot of width. If you want to keep the defense, honest, then you're going to use that, you're going to show that 8 man coming through. Takes it, great. If he doesn't take it, it's keeping these guys honest. Player, whatever it is that the guys call it in your team, your green, your blue, we'll verify that. Let's call it green, because I think that's what most teams are calling it now. So green to 10, 12, 13, they're obviously advancing. I don't want to see this angle from these guys. It should be straight, or if it is drifting, maybe the 13 might drift, but he's dropping a straight ball. We don't want back row forwards running sideways. We use them for what they're good for, and that's running forwards. Okay? When the 8 man does go, if he does take the ball with him, your 11's got to go with him. Okay? Your 10 has got to go with him. Just to make that support, because those are the guys, that's the guy that's going to break this line. He's breaking that line. If there's cover tackles coming in, you've got your 10 and 11 in support. They're the ideal people to be offloading the ball to when you're getting tackled as cover tackles an 8 man. Okay, well, that's that one. Okay, so to talk about if the ball goes to the centres, which, okay, you've got 13, and on this side would be 12 and 11. So that would be a wing, inside centre, outside centre, and wing. I just want to demonstrate, just want to show what these guys are going to be involved here as well. If the ball kicks off and lands on the 13, okay, generally the 13 is going to be coming forward to catch it, hopefully. So judging on the power of the kick, maybe the 13 might be just inside the 22, but coming out of it to catch. And once they catch it, if that's the target for that player, for that kicker, then they're going to defend focused on hitting that guy. You're going to get your winger and your outside centre coming up here as well, but generally we want to draw them into this guy, because if he's the guy catching, he's a dangerous player. Generally, an outside centre is considered a dangerous player, right? They're usually a bit bigger than the winger, but sometimes equally as fast. So we want to draw them in as a danger player, and then every time an inside or outside centre catches, they draw as many players as they can and give it to the fastest guy on the park. Okay, and the reason we want him with the ball, firstly, he's drawing players in, so there's less players to run at. Hopefully we can pull in this guy to him as well. We've got these defenders coming up and hopefully drawing in. And we want this guy to be attacking open play, because if there's a winger, he's probably got a sidestep on him as well. So then we can go into this situation where he attacks, and then if this guy is defending maybe staggered, because it's generally how they play here, right? Very rarely do they get a flat line. So he's attacking, stepping to the spaces, and he's gone. We want that man with ball in hand because he's the fastest, and it's a real opportunity for him to be attacking a staggered defense. It's not very often going to be a flat defense. Very, very rarely it's going to be a flat defense in here on a kickoff. So that's why we take it here, draw the man, give it to this guy, and he's attacking a staggered defense, if any kind of defense at all. Because really, you're going to be drawing in the fastest, most aggressive players to your centre, because that's who's catching the ball. Okay, so that's a general rule. Your centre catches the ball, absorbs the players, and passes right before contact, so that the winger can go play. That's the objective of that. So if a team kicks deep to us, deep into the inside our 22 from the kickoff, we're always going to start with your 9 and 10 and your fullback, obviously. Ideally, you'll have whoever kicks with a left foot. If you have a lefty, put them on the right side of the field, and if they catch it this side of the middle, obviously this is the nearer side. So we want to be kicking out. The reason for that is a left-footed kicker kicking to the right, they square up their hips correctly, and they can kick the ball directly with the in-swinging foot, also the out-swinging foot, to get the ball obviously correctly out. If it's a right-footed player, we want them on the left side of the field so they can kick with their right foot, and they're kicking it out. The objective of this, if we're deep in our territory, we don't want to play here ever. We just don't play here. We want to kick it out, even if it's only as long as it's outside the 22, as long as it's 40, I don't care. It doesn't need to be a 60-yard kick out, as long as it's further than rather than running with the ball and getting caught. Because at the end of the day, if they're kicking it deep, they're going to be defending and attacking that defensive situation very aggressively and quickly and together. Where are our forwards to help with this ruck? They're all the way over here. Your forwards are at the front. Okay, so we don't want to have their entire team advancing up here and us trying to run back at them with the smallest guys on the park. You know, our smallest guys running against all of their team is not a good situation to be in. That's the logic behind kicking it out from here. Okay, and that way as well, also your forwards don't have to run backwards and forwards. Okay, I am a forward. I know that's I'm giving preferences, but basically we don't want your big front row forward having to run all the way back here to clean out a ruck for you, because you've got to run up there and you've got to turn around and clean that ruck. It's not effective. It's a waste of energy, waste of time. It's not logical. So we kick it out so that saves time, saves energy, and we don't have to work so hard to get out of that situation. Now, generally, most teams in Florida don't have a lot of kicking options. We do. Generally, we've always got a good set of soccer players in Western, wherever they're from. You know, we've always got the Venezuelan kids and the Argentine kids, Chilean kids. Obviously, a few Brits floating around that can all kick a ball pretty well. So that's what we want to do. We use that skill to get us out of there and win the lineouts and then play from. I'd rather lose a lineout here than lose a ruck over here. That's my thought process to that. So that's what we want to try and do as much as possible. Okay, so remember, if you've got a lefty, keep him on this side. If you've got a righty, keep him on that side. Obviously, if it lands on the fullback, we need a fullback that can kick as well. Same situation, really, same story. But if it lands short, okay, it doesn't land inside the 22, that's fine. Like if your 9 has to run forward very quickly to catch it here, that's fine. We can go play because you know the forwards aren't so far away. But really, that should be your outside centre catching the ball, or your inside centre or outside centre, outside the 22. And then what are they doing with it? Based on previous conversation, they're passing it to the winger, so we attack down here. That's useful. That's useful work coming from a winger going forward. We're in good shape, and you've got your centre that can support immediately, and you've got your 9 and your 10 that can join in the attack there, and obviously the forward. On this side are going to be involved in that channel. So all the bases are covered at that point. Okay, but if it lands short of the 22 and the 9 or 10 has to get it, fine. They basically need to treat it like a centre, but really your centre is the one that should be catching it if it's outside the 22. If it's inside the 22 in any area across the field, we're kicking out. Okay. So I want to add one more thing to the catching at the front here. In general, to adapt this down to the younger age groups, or just generally if we haven't got the skill set in the team at the time, what we want to do is really think about moving forward to catch the ball. Running forward to catch the ball is always easier than running backwards to catch the ball. Okay, so if you've got a situation where the kick, obviously nowadays there's a lot of kicks that are coming in and just landing right on that 10 line. Okay. So don't have your forwards literally standing on that line. Have them set back a little bit. And again, your back row there, your front row forwards, they're at the back. They can sit a little bit further back too. So if the ball does land in here, you're going to have your guy that can jump, right, from the team that's kicking off. That's what they're there for. They're trying to get there and slap back. There's nothing wrong with us sitting a little bit further back, being aware of the potential short ball, but just sitting a bit further back so that when they do kick off trying to get to that line, we're running just as much as them. So therefore we've got the momentum as well. Running and jumping is much better than standing still and jumping, or running backwards and jumping. So have that in mind as well. If you need to adapt it for the skill set of the team, if we don't have players that can, 1 and 2 that can lift a second row or a back row forward, and that's just not realistic for us, just start further back and run forward to catch the ball. Remember, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, usually your tallest guys on the park, so they've probably got a height advantage anyway, but can they get off the ground standing still? Maybe not. So we need them to be running forward to be able to get that jump. So think about that when you're setting up your team for a game. Where does the team kick? Are they good at kicking? Right? Key Biscayne generally great kickoffs at the younger age groups. But someone like Cardinal Gibbons, they'll be lucky to have someone that can even kick for points, right? So that one's a little bit of a different situation. But if you've got a team that you know that they're going to accurately kick every single time, and they've got a specific game plan, then you need to be able to counteract that by putting the right players in place that can also compete in the air to get that ball. It's more prevalent in sevens, but as we know, U14 are quite often playing 10 aside, and the little guys playing 7 or 10 aside. So it's part of that game. It's a big part of the game. USA in general in sevens are very good. Their percentage through sort of 2018, 2019 of regaining the ball, most of the reason why they regained the ball was from the kickoff and slapping it back. So a lot of teams are incorporating that now, especially in the States, because they see the USA national team doing it. So something to think about at the different age groups. Okay.